not to bring down the vibe too much, but I know a lot of the album centers around the loss of your dad. And I lost my dad the same year you did. So I feel like we're kind of on like a similar grieving train ride, as
Oh,
far as the ups
sure.
and downs go and stuff.
Yeah. Sorry to hear
Um,
that, dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
back at you, man. Were there any songs that were, because I know for me, like it's kind of hard to like face that topic and even talk about it, even like, you know, casually with strangers is fine, but like just actually dive into that matter can be pretty challenging sometimes. So
Mhm.
was there any song on the album that was like especially hard for you to write, or one that you were like, man, I don't even know if I want to put this out because it's so vulnerable?
Yeah, I think songwriting has helped me in a lot of ways, like be comfortable talking about stuff. Or my therapist says I compartmentalize a lot, which probably isn't good. Which is where, it's like
Yeah.
I start to feel something, and then I'm like, never mind. So it's funny. I most times I can talk about my dad, and it's okay. It's not. Yeah, and I get it. I see other people try and talk about their parents who pass, and they start choking up 5 seconds into
Yeah.
talking about it. But I'd say, I guess, for Dark Sun, a lot of them were very, it was very cathartic to get that release out. I'd say, like, there's a song called Parallel towards the end of the album that was like, it was really important for me to write about my experience with my dad in like God, what's the word? In hospice, because he was in hospice for a couple days before he passed, and it was just a
Mhm.
very surreal experience. You kind of just show up into this, uh, just a very dark environment, just kind of waiting around for somebody to pass away, and I, I think, like maybe a few months before my dad passed, I was talking to this girl, who was a scientist, and she was telling me how, like, some other guy had released a study that he had figured out an equation that basically proved that, like, parallel universes and realities are like a real thing. And
Mhm.
I don't know, like, I don't know how true that is, or if it I don't know if it's a real thing, but it I just yeah, I wrote that song with, like, I like it sometimes where, like, the verses are their own thing, and then the chorus is like its own kind of point in the story. And so
Yeah.
Parallel, I wrote kind of about, like, the verses are pretty knee deep in how dark the experience is of hospice and, like, watching somebody pass away. And then the choruses I liked were, like, the idea of my dad in a parallel universe, like, alive and well and, like, not
Yeah.
sick.
That's
And
comforting.
so yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why that song is. Yeah, it's hard for me to. I don't cry. Our music would suggest otherwise, but I don't cry very often, and every time me and our producer Dan work on something, he'll always give me something to listen to after I leave, like a really rough version of the song, and he gave me, like, a rough of Parallel after we had recorded all the vocals, and it was, like, pretty much done. And yeah, my drive home is like an hour, and it sounds so lame, but yeah, I cried to my own music, and it was just
Mhm.
it was very strange because that doesn't normally happen. And I think it's definitely we've played it for a couple of tours, and yeah, it's definitely a song where I'm like, I just look out in the crowd, I'm like, you're crying, you're crying. It's just a
Yeah.
very, like, I think that song. I think that song and the album especially, I think it might be a reason, like, you enjoy it, is like, I realized that there were people initially when it came out who were like, I don't get this record, and it's like it's kind of a snoozer. It's not like a traditional rock record. And then other people who had, like, lost a parent or lost anybody really would kind of say how much it helped them. And I kind of had this, like, epiphany, like, shortly after it came out, that it's kind of a record, like, it's a record for people, I think, who have lost somebody close to them who've, like, passed away. And, like, yeah, maybe it's not super relatable if, like, your parents are alive and well, and, like, you
Mhm.
haven't dealt with, like, a severe loss. Because my dad was, like, the first person who passed away where I was like, holy shit, like, this is yeah, just really intense. I've always had, like, distant cousins, or um like friends, through the grapevine, and it's always like, damn, that's crazy. But it's not it was the
Right.
first time where it was like, yeah, this is I was really close to him, and and yeah, now he's gone. But no, it's yeah, Parallel is definitely up there. There were times where I'm like, this song is maybe too sad. Like we should have dialed it back. Like
Yeah.
maybe a little bit.
Should have thrown a dick joke in there and lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, dead dad dick joke. They go together, you know. Yeah.